Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Yenny and I'm going to go over 2.3, Finding the Best Arrangement. In this problem we have Brianna and Emmanuel and they're in a game show and they are given these 4 marbles. I'm going to use cubes to simulate it. 2 blues and 2 greens, and the goal of the game is to pick a green. That's the goal. And so in other words, one of them goes behind stage, takes the 4 marbles, arranges them in the cups in some way, and of course the cups in the game are not transparent, so they can't see what's in them. And then the other person will choose one marble. First they'll choose a container, and then they'll choose a marble out of the container. And if the marble that they choose is green, then they're the winners. Alright, so let's look at part A. List all the possible ways that the 4 marbles can be in the 2 containers. Alright, so this is the first one right here. So you can see I have 2 containers and I have all the marbles in 1 container. So let's just call that the first one. I'm going to draw 2 containers, and you can see that I put nothing here and I put blue, blue, green, green. Alright, well I could also do this. I could have 2 containers again, and I could put the 2 greens in this container and the 2 blues in this container. Or I could do this. So I could have in this container a blue and a green, and in this container a blue and a green. So what else could I do? Well, maybe I can put 3 of them here and just leave 1 in the other container by itself. So I'll say green is all by itself here, so then I have 1 green and 2 blues in this container. And I guess I want the opposite of that, which would be this, as my next arrangement. So I've got a blue all by itself, and then 2 greens and a blue. Alright, and these are actually the 5 possible ways. One of the confusing parts for kids is that they think that this arrangement is a different arrangement than this arrangement. They're actually the same arrangement, because in this type of problem it's a dependent event, and you first have to choose the container, and the container that you choose will affect your probability, of course. Alright, so let's go down and talk about our probability. In part B, we actually had to calculate, theoretically, the probability of ending up with a blue or a green in each situation. So let's go to this first example right here. In this first example, what we're going to show is, using an area model, we're going to show that we had to make a choice of 2 containers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the container in half, or excuse me, split the area model in half. This part of the area model will represent container 1, and this part of the area model will represent the second container. So I don't have anything in the second container. Everything is in this first container. So what I'm going to do now is, if they were all in 1 container, I would have a 1 in 4 chance out of this container alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this side of the area model into fourths and label them B, B, G, G. Alright, so this tells me that my probability of a blue is, how much does my blue take up of my whole area model? Well, it takes up, as you can see, 1/4 of the whole, because of course, even though this is 0, we still have to count it as part of the whole. So 1/4, or 25%. And my probability of green here is also 1/4, or 25%. And remember, we're trying to get green, so let's keep note of our green probabilities. Alright, so our next area model, we are going to model off of this second arrangement. And again, I'm going to separate my area model in half to represent the 2 containers. The top container gets split in half, and both of those are green. The bottom container gets split in half, and both of those are blue. And so I can see that my probability of drawing a blue marble this time is 50%, and my probability of drawing a green this time is 50%, or 1/2. I should have put the fraction there as well. Alright, let's go to the next area model, and this area model will represent this arrangement right here. So again, we're going to separate our area model in half to represent our 2 containers. If we chose the first container, we would have a choice of blue or green. If we chose the second container, we would have a choice of blue or green. So you probably noticed that our probabilities stayed the same here. Our probability of drawing a blue is 50%, and our probability of drawing a green is also 50%. Okay, let's go to the next area model then, and this one will represent our third arrangement right here. In this third arrangement, again, we'll split it in half to represent our two containers. If the first container was chosen, we only have one choice there. So green gets that whole section. If the second container was chosen, we're going to split this into thirds. We have a choice between green, blue, and blue. So our probability of a green, well, this section is 1/2 of the whole. So right down here, I'm just going to write 1/2 plus, this section is 1/6 of the whole. Well, I also know that 1/2 can be written as 3/6, so I'm going to keep this in mind as 3/6 plus 1/6 is 4/6. So my probability of drawing a green is 4/6 or 2/3 or 66 2/3%. That means my probability of drawing a blue should be 1/3, and it certainly is because I can see that blue takes up 2/6, which is the same as 1/3 or 33 1/3%. Alright, the last one will represent this final arrangement. Again, split our area model in half to represent our two containers. To represent equally likely draw of green, green, or blue in thirds, we're going to separate that into thirds and leave this container all by itself with blue. So you'll notice that this area model is really just like this area model, just opposite colors. So our probability here of drawing a green is now 1/3 or 33 1/3%. And our probability of drawing a blue this time is 2/3 or 66 2/3%. Alright, and now what we have to do is we have to figure out which arrangement gives us the best chance of winning. Remember that the goal at the beginning of the game, we talked about this, was to pick a green. And so let's just compare our probabilities. You can see that the probability for drawing a green is best in this arrangement right here. So I'm going to put a star by that arrangement. And which arrangement gives us the least chance of winning? Well, I can see that this arrangement here, where there's nothing in the bucket at all, right here, this arrangement, gives us our worst chances because, of course, if this container gets drawn and chosen, there's nothing in here to draw at all. So this arrangement, and I'll put a sad face by that one, is our least probable arrangement for drawing a green. Alright, so that's it. Thank you for listening. I hope you got that all corrected. Make sure that you see me if you have additional questions, and we'll see you next time.